Welcome petrol heads, my name is Pratik and you're watching Exhibit. Mercedes has been the leader in the luxury car segment for India since a long time. And with over 7,000 pre-orders, it does not show any signs of slowing down. Now if you remember, the only 7-seater car in the entire Mercedes lineup of SUVs has been the GLS, a very premium and luxury offering from the house of Mercedes. Right until today, we have with us a new kid on the block. Mercedes has launched a platform that will be available for the first time in a petrol, diesel and electric option. We have with us the GLB and the EQB. Let's take a look at them. Mercedes has taken inspiration from the elder siblings of the B series platform. Just like the GLS, this is called the mini GLS because the GLB gets similar front fascia with similar accents on the bumper as well. What you will also find is just like the EQS, the EQB gets a similar front fascia as well. The GLS inspiration is also seen on the side of this vehicle, wherein the entire side panel looks exactly like a mini GLS, doesn't it? Sharing the platform with GLB, the EQB also looks similar from its side. Apparently, from this portion all the way up till this particular end, these cars are absolutely same. The EQB looks like an unmistakable EQ platform from Mercedes with this rear connecting LED lamp, and the number plate has been shifted at the bottom bumper itself. You also get a powered tailgate which also has a rear camera in that. The GLB has clearly taken a lot of inspiration from the GLS, similar looking tail lamps and similar looking rear bumper as well. What you find out here is a small hint of everything that the GLS offers at a much affordable price. The EQB gets a specialized 18-inch wheel which also does noise reduction and has great drag coefficiency, while the GLB on this one gets a 19-inch AMG rim with 5 spokes. Now this one is a very special edition because it has the AMG kit installed on it. There are also other 18 and 17-inch options for the GLB. While the GLB gets this particular fuel option on the other end of the car, the EQB gets it on the right hand side. On the right hand side, you can see that it has AC and DC charging capabilities. Now, Mercedes is providing a complimentary 11 kWh of AC adapter with this particular car, and you also get fast DC charging up to 100 kWh right here. We're seated in the interiors of the EQB 300, 4MATIC obviously. Now this one gets a floating touch panel that you can see right here. There's a 10.25-inch display for the infotainment system. There's a 10.25-inch MID as well. The huge, large, chunky steering wheel is the AMG inspired one, and this car, the EQB 300, gets the AMG steering wheel as standard. It's familiarly Mercedes in here, and the EQB also gets body color accents on the AC vents. This one also gets tons of lightings and LED functionality. What you also get here is an LED strip that visualizes based on the music, thereby giving a whole different perspective to the personality of the EQB 300. The huge panoramic sunroof opens two ways, like the shutter goes from here there, and the rear one comes from all the way from rear right up till in the middle. What really gives a new characteristics to the EQB 300 is the use of multiple different textures and materials. You have soft touch leather, you also get metal accents, there's LED strip in this particular dashboard. The entire center console also is very functional and gives a very classy look to the entire package because there's a rollable shutter that opens up and reveals a wireless charger, a 12-volt DC connector as well. You also get USB Type-C port, you get 2 cup holders right there. You also have deep pockets in here which are also opened by this particular button. Then there's this touchpad that's synonymously known for Mercedes, and you get multiple drive options too, where you can choose between individual, sport, comfort and eco. There's also multiple recuperation options which can be done right through the paddle shifters. Now let's take a look at the second row of the EQB. We're seated on the second row of the EQB 300, and despite being an electric, there's a small transmission tunnel, but it's not very prominent. 3 people will be a squeeze, but will fit very nicely in here. What is really interesting is despite this being a 7-seater, you have ample amount of legroom. You also get good amount of headroom despite this height being a little smaller than the GLB. And what's really interesting is that Mercedes allows you to adjust for more leg space. You get two AC vents. We wish they were the same accented colors as up in the front. You get a storage area and USB Type-C port right down there. Apart from it, this center armrest also gets rollable cup holders. Overall, the second row is very comfortable for the EQB. Mercedes warns us that the third row is for preteens and your pets. Well, for experiment's sake, I'm going to go and sit on that row. Mercedes was absolutely right. This thing is best suited for preteens and your pets. But shorter adults can also fit in here, although not very comfortably. Now what you also get here is two cup holders. You get storage areas with USB Type-C charging, and there's speakers also for your third row. We are seated in the GLB 220D 4MATIC, and what you can see here is just like the EQB, everything here seems familiar. That's because they're sharing platforms and the interiors as well. We wish that just like the EQB, this too got accented AC vents, but then again, the metal matte finish that you see on all of these finishes right here very well suit the characteristics of the GLB 220D. While you miss out on the LED strip that you get on the dashboard, what you get in the GLB is a whole lot different textures. What you get here is Alcantara on the doors, you get Alcantara on the seats as well. This gives a very luxurious feel to the entire GLB package. What also is different here is that the normal GLB 200 and the 220D without the 4MATIC and the AMG extension only get a round steering wheel, while this one gets a flat bottom AMG steering wheel. And just like the EQB 300, the GLB also gets a nice spacious second row, which also can be adjusted as per your functionality. Just like the EQB, this entire panoramic sunroof also adds a lot of room to the second row space, and you get ample amount of legroom along with good amount of headroom, and the same Alcantara seats at the rear as well. The third row seats are exactly the same, and I'm not putting myself through that torture again. We are seated in the GLB 220D 4MATIC. Now this car is offered in all of the ICE and electric variants. What you get is a petrol which churns out about 120 kilowatt hour of power and 250 Newton meters of torque. Now there's also the 220D and the 220D 4MATIC. Both of these churn out 140 kilowatt hour of power with 400 Newton meters of torque, which is absolutely healthy for the size of this car. The GLB is roughly the size of the GLC with the same ground clearance of 155 mm. Thereby, despite this being a 7-seater, it feels like a 5-seater that you're driving. I'm pretty sure it would feel different when all the seats are occupied, but that won't make much of a difference. The GLB is heavily inspired by the GLS, and that is apparent both from the exteriors and the interiors of this car. Now the interiors are quality materials. It's typically what Mercedes offers on most of their SUVs, but everything in here feels really nice quality. You also get paddle shifters on the 220D, thereby makes your driving much sportier with multiple different options and multiple terrain options. The steering wheel of the GLB and both the EQB seem similar to each other. They're very well weighted and absolutely apt for the kind of size that this car is offered at. But somehow Mercedes has managed to give absolutely quality NVH levels in here. This car feels like much higher value than what you're paying for. The differences between the GLB and the EQB are very apparent when you start putting these things on paper and in reality. Now the EQB gets a lot of things that are as standard options, which will be optional accessories or optional additions to the GLB. The GLB also gets 10 speakers with a subwoofer. Overall, the overall output of 225 watt is more than sufficient for a family of 7. The drive quality on the GLB is very well adjusted for comfort. Now, you'll not feel most of the road undulations because these suspensions have been set up so neatly that more the people in this car, the better it drives. Sharing platforms, the EQB offers 8 years of battery warranty. Now, Mercedes has surpassed and matched expectations of potential customers by offering 8 years of similar warranty on engine and transmission for the GLB series as well. And the best part of it all, this warranty is also transferable. A really interesting thing Mercedes has done is that if you go off-roading in the GLB 220D 4MATIC, you'll get your off-road info right on your MID and not the infotainment system. A neat touch, Mercedes. Although Mercedes does not mention any ADAS capabilities on the GLB or the EQB, what is really apparent is that there's collision warnings, there's collision alerts, there's also emergency braking, there's lane keep assist and a ton of lane assist features for the drivers of the GLB and the EQB. We are now seated in the EQB 300 4MATIC. Now, on the first glance, you'll not find many differences between the GLB and the EQB, but there are subtle differences. Like the first thing that you would notice here is that the dashboard has some colored accents and some extra LED elements. These are designed for some modernized and contemporary look and designed to age well with time. What you'll also find is you also get paddle shifters just like the GLB, but these paddle shifters shift between the various recuperation modes. Thereby, it allows you to also try and run this car in one pedal mode, but Mercedes does not mention a one pedal mode at all, and it does not really work like a one pedal mode, but it can do the job on most of the roads. The EQB gets 66.5 kilowatt hour of battery, which has multiple charging capabilities with up to 100 kilowatt hour of DC charging. If you find that charger, you can top up this car from 10 to 80% in less than 32 minutes. And a usual charge, which is the 11 kilowatt hour wall charger provided by Mercedes, will charge this car in just 6.5 hours. The EQB's sibling, the GLB, gets the petrol and diesel variants which churn out 120 kilowatt hour and 140 kilowatt hour of power respectively. Now this one, on the other hand, has oodles of power with 168 kilowatt hour of power and 390 Newton meters of torque, which is presented much faster than the diesel as well. That power figure is delivered healthily by two motors, an asynchronous motor up front and a permanently synchronized motor at the rear. The batteries weigh 469 kgs with 5 modules as in the architecture. Now all of this battery sits on the floor itself. Thereby, the center of gravity makes this car feel very planted on high speeds and even on tight corners as well. Now in comparison, the EQB is a tad bit longer than its sibling the GLB, but it's also a bit narrower and also has lesser height. Thereby, the drag coefficient of this particular car is much better than its sibling. Now, despite all the regenerative braking and those recuperation modes that this car has, the braking on this car is very weird. At first, it feels like it won't brake, but then the brakes suddenly apply with the recuperation together. Now this entire thing has a bit of a lag, like about a few milliseconds, but it's very noticeable when you're sitting on the driver's seat. The EQB 300 can sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 8 seconds. And for sanity reasons, Mercedes has locked the top speed at 160 kilometers per hour. Now on paper, Mercedes claims that this car will do 423 kilometers of WLTP range. Now in reality, as far as the way we are driving, we have driven many kilometers and the recuperation is on its highest level. We have just lost a few kilometers in the entire range. So it totally depends on the way you drive, and you could easily squeeze about 360 to 380 kilometers from this particular car. Mercedes claims that the residual value of the EQB 300 will be similar to that of its petrol and the diesel sibling, the GLB. Now what you get here is a residual value of over 61% after 3 to 4 years. The EQB and the GLB are great addition to the Mercedes SUV lineup. Just like the GLC, both these cars get 155 mm of ground clearance, apt for all of our undulations that Indian roads have to offer. Not just that, there's tons of customizability on the GLB along with an AMG kit and a rose gold color on the EQB. Mercedes is offering tons of versatility on this platform. There's 5+ 2-seater configurations, multiple customizations for the GLB and a whole lot of powertrains to choose from. Let us know what you feel about the GLB and the EQB in the comment section below. Also like, subscribe and share this video with everybody who's interested in a 7-seater configuration that does not cost a whole lot.